This is the Cafe Racer podcast perfect. Great way to end the year. This is the Cafe Racer podcast, episode 122 for December 21st, 2017. I messed that all up.
And you're a loser.
Yeah. And you are?
Daddy No Fun.
All right, let's do it. All right, so apparently you didn't hear the music, which is strange.
So you just got 30 seconds or 45 seconds of us staring at the screen.
That's weird. Now that really makes me wonder. Oh, I know why.
Why?
If the microphone thing is completely like wrong, so I'm getting everything to the recorder.
But now everything should be. Do I sound different?
Completely different. That's why the volume sounded different.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is off to an awesome start.
But the recorder got it right.
Yeah. So the YouTube video will just suck a little extra in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you say? You fucked up the last episode of the year.
Yeah. I mean, we were on such a great roll of everything going pretty smoothly.
It's us, man. We can't,
It's like running to the finish line and you just fall flat on your face. Like,
and then you don't even get up. You
Yeah,
just sit. You get to your knees and you vomit, and then you don't go anywhere or crap yourself.
I got a new toy.
What'd you get?
I just downloaded an app. So, like, it's a soundboard app. So now I can be ridiculously obnoxious. Like when we if we show like a super attractive motorcycle.
Let's hear it.
Oh yeah.
I like that, man.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. Boom, boom.
Yeah. So I gotta play with it though. It has a bunch of random stuff though. Like I could make cricket noises. It's kind of long though. It seems like a lot of crickets.
Those were big crickets too.
Yeah. Anyway, so what are we doing? We are doing the what we think the best and worst motorcycles or decisions of 2017 were.
Okay.
It's kind of the plan.
Everybody else is doing like holiday gift guides, and
yeah,
we're not. But we could talk about.
We could.
Like, yeah.
I mean, the only thing that I could think of that personally I want is heated grips. There's that set of Koso heated grips that have the button built into the left grip.
Right.
So I love that they don't have an extra like controller you have to mount somewhere. So that's like my favorite. That's the thing I want, next.
How do the Oxfords work? Separate controller, right?
Yeah, all the other ones I've seen have like a little box you have to mount somewhere or a switch. And so I like to keep. I'm trying to keep things kind of minimal on the handlebars, and especially if I decide to go back to clip-ons, I don't have any room for anything.
I don't know. I think you should leave it the way it is. I think it looks better right now, and it's probably more comfortable to ride than with the clip-ons.
Yeah, I definitely find myself putting my feet back on the passenger pegs when I'm going like a longer distance. Though, like when I went out to El Centro and came back, I put my feet back on the passenger pegs, especially in my two-piece suit. Like it's so bulky, I
right.
feel kind of cramped up when my feet are on the the regular pegs and I'm kind of hunching down into the wind.
I just, I don't know. I guess maybe part of it's my age and just wearing out physically, but to be in that, even on the 10A, to be in that position, where you're kind of in that semi tuck, really starting to wear on my neck.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can do about an hour on that bike, and I'm kind of uncomfortable. That's why I keep looking at more and more standards. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the Vipilin would probably be the same animal for me. It would be just as cramped, and it's a smaller bike as well.
Yeah, it's a really cool looking bike though, and I mean
I
that could definitely be our first. I think one of the ones we agree on is one of the coolest
Yeah,
motorcycles released this year.
yeah. I mean, if we're going to start with the ones we like, that certainly is a bike that I like. I like the way it looks. I watched a couple of the videos for the concept bike, and I think it's one of the neatest looking motorcycles I've seen. It doesn't really fit in, it's a modern, I don't know, cafe bike for lack of a better term, but
Yeah, I don't. It's a lot like the FZ09, you know,
right.
and it's kind of like aesthetic, but it's like more out there. Like it's more. What I don't know the right word. It's a more like crazy look.
It's just
Um,
it's got the lines on it are really nice. I didn't realize it was a thumper until I read an article. I thought it was a parallel twin.
yeah, it's the six. It's the engine from the KTM 690.
Right. Right. And don't so Husky does that same 690 in a 701 anyway, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a
But
super motard and a dual sport.
for some reason I was thinking that the new motor that they were going to be putting in the mid-size bike was this motor, but now that I'm looking at it and seeing it's a single, the bike's coming in at a very low weight.
Yeah, and
It's
there's a
amazing.
401 too of that same it's like the same bike, but it's a 400.
That's using the 390 motor, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy.
yeah, and then
Um,
it took me a minute to figure out like I was trying to figure out what the difference between the Vitpilin and the Svartpilin are, and one is like slightly scramblery, and the other one is not. So they look almost identical if you're not like looking closely.
right.
Um, I think one of
There's
the
something else I saw too
oh yeah.
that I don't think we've ever talked about, and I haven't seen it. Maybe you saw it at AIM. Was Honda's Rebel 500?
Yeah, I've seen the 300 and I think I've seen the 500. They look pretty much the same. They're they're not for me. Um, but I like that they did something pretty. I think they did something pretty crazy with them. Like the way they look, the paint jobs are really bright fluorescent paint jobs. Um, it's not a bike that I particularly want, but it's definitely different. It's not, a boring old Rebel 250 that looks kind of like a micro Harley.
Yeah, no, and this is a kind of an interesting way they've got the bike raked out. There's some big tires on it. The exhaust is pretty cool. The 500 is a parallel twin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be a bike I would buy. It's probably small. I can tell from the pictures that it looks like there's a small rider on the bike.
Yeah.
But I'd like to ride it and see what it's like. It's kind of neat. I like the concept of it. I like the
Yeah, I think
way
it's
the chassis is laid out. It's pretty cool.
yeah, I think it's cool how like it kind of has a similar aesthetic to the Bolt, the Star Bolt.
Hmm.
Um and then have you seen the one like I like how Honda's using this like high vis highlighter yellow in a lot of their motorcycles.
So the one that I'm looking at is only red, but I'm going to look and see what the new ones are going to look like here. The one that I see is the parallel twin 500 in red, and then there's one that's a gray version as well. Let me take a look and see. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know how I missed this. I didn't see this with any of the releases, and I was looking at a lot of the things.
yeah. It's definitely
So,
like a solid uh like beginner cruiser, if you're, looking for a cruiser type motorcycle and you You want something that looks unlike everything else out there. Like it doesn't nothing else looks like this really. And like on the only part of color on the thing is the tank. Like everything else is black. Um I think the gray one has a gray fender, but the red one has a black fender, the yellow one has a black fender.
Man, this is kind of cool looking. The gray, it looks like it's a flat gray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no, the red's got a gray fender.
That
The
does it.
black, yeah, the black has what appears to be a gloss black fender. The
Yeah.
yellow's got a gray fender, and the gray's got a different color gray fender.
Oh,
It's lighter. There's actually 3 different fender colors.
weird.
So the
It's
red and
definitely a
yellow.
cool style.
Yeah, no, it's pretty neat. I mean, I $6,000, that's kind of for a 500cc. I think that's maybe in line with what everybody else is selling them for. I like the
Yeah.
fat tires on it. It does look like the riding position's kind of cramped because that seat is really low.
Yeah. Like that seat is I'm gonna look up the seat height actually.
I'll tell you right now. Hold on, I got it in
Oh,
front of
are
me.
you on Honda's website?
Yeah, I'm on Honda's website, and it looks like it is.
27.2 inches.
Yeah, that's good for people that complain about seat height,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
like Jess, has seat height problems. Like she doesn't even like the Bonneville, like my Bonneville in its current state, like
Did
which is not that tall.
did Jess ride this bike?
No.
I mean, did she sit on it? I should say.
I don't think where did we saw one at the IMS, and I don't think she got a chance to sit on it. It was a madhouse in there. When like Honda's booth when we went over there was packed. There was like 100 people around every Goldwing they had on the floor. Redondo Beach Police Department had their Africa Twin out, and like there was just, I mean, that bike was like covered in other people's drool. It was like there were just thousands of people like, oh my god, that bike is
Right.
like just brains melting.
I'm still not completely sold on that thing. I need to ride one. Spencer told me it was great, fun to ride, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It's not
Yeah,
my
I gotta
cup.
get on one too.
So I'm looking at the accessories that you can get for this 500, and they've already got like passenger seat and foot peg kits. So this is kind of cool. It doesn't come with that. It's
Yeah,
$140 for that.
that's not
They
bad.
got a rear carrier, $298, and then you can get a complete saddlebag set, stays and synthetic leather saddlebags for about looks like $330, $340 for the whole
That's
set.
like all really reasonable stuff. Like the
Yeah.
prices.
They show something called the meter visor, which is like a little fly screen. It's real small. It's clear, which honestly, I think that would have been much cooler if it would have been painted because you're not looking through it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
They made it clear, which to me is kind of stupid. But anyway, that's one of my. I like that bike, and I'm kind of talking from a completely aesthetic point of view. That
Yeah.
it looks cool and it might be a great fit for people. I think that's neat. I'm going to add that one to my list.
Yeah, I'd be curious to get Jess to sit on one. I'd be curious to know what she thinks of the way it looks too. I mean, the bike that she rode when she took her little motorcycle course was a Yamaha 250 Cruiser.
Mhm.
And she really, really enjoyed riding it. So, I don't know. When I was talking, I interviewed Jay LaRosa yesterday.
Mhm.
And that'll be posted later. I'm not sure exactly when. I've got editing to do and stuff. It went super well, and we talked a little bit about like wives riding motorcycles. And literally, like the first thing out of his mouth was like, "Oh, get her an SR 400." I'm like, dude, she wants one like so bad. It was like he pretty much had Jess's number in terms of like, look and feel of bike like right off the bat. He said that his wife, I think it was recorded, so it'll come out in the interview. But he said that his wife is too dangerous on a scooter for him to be willing to let her graduate to a motorcycle.
Is she just not safe, or she's more of a maniac?
He said he watches, like, they'll ride around the neighborhood on this little scooter, scooters they have, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna kill yourself. He didn't really specify what she did, like whether she was too adventurous or just, not paying attention. But he's like, yeah, she can't have a motorcycle.
That's too bad.
So a bike that I would definitely put on the, I don't know if it was new this year. Probably maybe it was a 2016, but the K1600B, the bagger from BMW, surprised the crap out of me. I didn't expect to like that bike at all.
Is that the first BMW you've ridden in the K series?
In the K series, yes.
Okay.
I've ridden a handful of R bikes, and that's the first K bike I've ever ridden. And it's the 6-cylinder, 1600cc motor. Holy crap. I loved pretty much every second that I was on that motorcycle. So very, very surprised.
Listen, man, there's, the only, in any of the bigger BMWs I've ridden in the past, I've always liked them. The only one I didn't really care for, and it wasn't that I don't like the bike, it's just, it was uncomfortable for me to ride, was the R9T, because of the foot peg position and this is a nitpicky thing, to the brake reservoir guard was like kind of digging into my heel. And I know that can easily be solved. That's not a big deal. The bike, though, it was, for what it was kind of uninspiring. I wasn't excited. I like riding my Moto Guzzi better than I did. And I really wanted to like it because I like R bikes a lot.
Yeah, I liked the Urban GS. You rode the Scrambler, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I rode an Urban GS that same day that I rode the K1600, and I really liked it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little bit of difference in some of the
things. I think maybe it might just be where we were holding our feet. That,
and
I think
the Urban GS I rode I think it had an aftermarket exhaust, so it had like a really good aggressive sound, which maybe gave it a little more character.
It's just when I rode the R9T, it there wasn't a lot of acceleration to it. It just was kind of plain. It was all right. It was fun, but it wasn't something that I would buy. Maybe the other ones, I like the look of that cafe one that they have. What is that? That's not an RS. I forgot what the designation for that one is.
I don't know.
It's a really great looking motorcycle, but man, the
seating one, position, right? Like the white and red and blue one.
Yeah, but the seating position on it is, you talk about low bars. Oh my God.
Yeah, that thing is like fully.
Yeah,
like
it's the R9T Racer.
Yeah,
is what it is. The Racer.
That thing's beautiful.
It is. It's pricey, but it's a BMW. But it's just, I don't think I could ride that bike very long. I kind of fell in love with the look of it, but then again, it's the same motorcycle, so I don't know if they bumped up any horsepower on it, or it's the exact same thing.
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I think they're pretty much the same across the board.
Yeah.
I'll speak a little bit for Jess. I think a bike that it surprised both of us. It's also a BMW. I didn't want to like it, but we both rode the R1200 GS Rally, which is the adventure suspension, but the smaller gas tank.
Right.
Rode that at AIM, and it was by far our favorite bike to ride together during like the demo rides that we did.
On the version that you rode, did it have knobbies on it?
I think so. It was a completely stock Rally. So
yeah, they come with knobbies from the factory. I think they come with TKC 80s. But I was just curious what your impression of those. Out of all the street knobbies, the TKC 80s are my favorite. And
yeah, it definitely was exactly like this. I looked up a picture. Yeah, it was bone stock. And
I like that bike a lot.
Yeah, I like the paint job, the like blue and gray and red and whatnot. The taller suspension was totally fine with me. It was a ton of fun, and I didn't want to like it so much because it's like $10,000 more than the bike that I wanted to like.
Right. They're pricey, man. They're not discounted in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking, once you buy one of those things loaded out, you're probably close to 27,000 for the adventure. I don't know what the rally's like. I'm sure they get a premium for it.
Yeah, I think the rally like starts at 18.
Yeah, that's probably without ABS, though, right?
I think they all come with ABS. Like every BMW has ABS now, like 100% of their line.
Okay. So another bike that I really like a lot, and I don't know if this was a 2017 late or a 2018 model. It's the new Goldwing.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I haven't ridden one, but it looks so much better than the old Fat Wing.
I'm hoping that they have them at Bike Week.
Yeah.
Usually they do. Honda has usually a big demo tent, and we're talking about doing a Bike Week trip with some of the people, our Patreon supporters that are on Slack. And if we actually make that happen, I want to really ride one of those. It's just the redesign on it looks great. I'm pretty sure it's a 2018 model year bike because it was released the end of 2017 at EICMA, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, they had it at IMS. So
did you sit on it by any chance?
No, there was 1,000 people around every single one of them.
Right.
We walked by and like I got kind of close to one, and it was just like you had to like take a number to sit on one. Pretty much, it was busy.
It's too bad because they're really cool, but that's one that I would definitely put on my list of favorites for the year.
Yeah, they've gone away from telescopic forks in the front end, which BMW is all like, we have been doing this for years. But it was like cool to watch, to see like the Goldwing people that were there, like there were clearly a bunch of guys that owned older Goldwings, and they were just like gushing, looking over this new bike, like super excited about it.
The other thing is Honda came out with a CRF 250 Rally.
Oh yeah,
did you see that?
I did. Yeah, it's like
Rally
taller
L.
suspension.
Yeah,
it's a neat little bike. I want a dual sport so bad.
So do I. I really do. But I'm thinking maybe a little bit bigger, please, in the capacity department.
If we could get like a 450L Rally or an updated 650, that'd be
I'd
good.
take a 450, like they built back in their actual, rally bike, the CRF 450. But a CRF 450L, man, I think that would be my dual sport bike. I think the 650 is probably a little bit big for me, just being a new kind of off-road rider, but
right. The only it's weird. So it's like the only company that I can think of right now of the big four Japanese ones that makes a dual sport that's not a 650 or a 250 is Suzuki, and with their 400.
Right. Well, that's not true. KTM does too. I think KTM makes.
Yeah, because KTM makes a 5 something, I think.
No, I think they make it. Let me look real quick. I think they make a 350 as well in a dual sport bike. I'll tell you real quick. But and I've looked at like every year they kind of change around what they've got, and they always make the 6 days, which, man, I think those things are killer. Those are great. So they've got let's see. Is this a street legal motorcycle?
It could be in Washington. So you know what the price difference between the XR 650L and the CRF 250L Rally Edition are?
No, what are they?
Exactly $1,000.
Are you saying you don't think it's worth $1,000 to get that, or?
I don't know. Like, if I was gonna go out today and buy, if somebody said you have to go buy a Honda Dual Sport, I'd probably just spend the extra $1,000 and get the 650.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. It doesn't look as cool, but I also have to drive a long ways to get to anywhere I could go off road. So like being able to like ride on the highway for a little while would, you know, and not blow the engine up would be better.
So I'm not seeing. I'm on the U.S. site, and I
Mhm.
don't see any of the four-stroke, which is really, really weird. Any of the
KTM's website's
four-stroke.
been wacky lately.
It's kind of like stuck, sort of.
Yeah, the other day I was on their website and sometimes it would show me the 1090 and sometimes it wouldn't. Like I'd click the category where the 1090 should be and it would be there and then it wouldn't be there.
Yeah, this is really weird because it's showing me the prices in euros now, and I'm on the U.S. site. It's kind of
Yeah.
bizarre, but I knew that they make a street legal version of the 6 days in a
Mhm.
350. I think it's an EXC,
EXC. Yeah.
but there's another, like the EXCF. I don't think is street legal. That's their full on enduro bike.
Mhm.
And then what's really weird is none of these are showing any, like in their four stroke. I don't see any at all that appear to be street legal.
Hmm.
And now I'm getting
Strange.
404 errors, like the page you're looking for doesn't exist.
They just
Their
don't
site
want
must
you to
be,
look.
yeah, the site must be really screwed up. Anyway, so that's, going a dual sport is something that I really want. Definitely in
Yeah.
my future, Um, what else? What don't you like that came out?
I let's see, where do I start? I've got a couple. I'm trying to figure out the one that well, since we're talking about dual sport and adventure bikes, I don't like the newer version of the V-Strom 650. I think I think the beak is a mistake. I don't like the way it looks at all. Um, I saw it at AIM or not AIM at IMS and just can't stand to look at it.
It's making you sick to your stomach. Is that what you're trying
Yeah.
to tell me? I don't. The beak to me is the worst design feature that Suzuki ever put on a motorcycle, with that Woody Woodpecker bump in it. And everyone makes fun of it. I don't understand why they kept it.
Yeah. I don't know.
But
Just
they didn't really change the bike other than the outside design, right? I mean, there's no motor changes. It's not a new bike. It's just kind of rebadged.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for me, I don't like the Triumph bobber at all.
The most bobber looking of factory bobbers is the one you like the least.
The one I like the least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at it now and I'm like, this thing's stupid looking. It just, it's almost like, and I'm probably completely off base with this stupid analogy, but it's almost like I feel like a bobber, and I know that there's other motorcycles that are called bobbers that don't look anything like a bobber, but to me, a bobber, which to Triumph's credit is what they try to do, is a bike you build. It's a
Yeah.
bike where you go and cut crap off of it and you bob it. You put a solo seat on it. This is like, I don't know, kissing your sister maybe. It's just really weird. It's not, I don't like the way it looks. And everybody was like gushing over it when it came out. And I'm not a big fan.
Yeah.
I think it would, I appreciate more when someone goes and buys a bike and makes a bobber out of it. And I'm not that guy that, where you have to build your own motorcycle kind of thing. or it's got to be hand built. I just don't like this one for some reason.
Yeah.
I know you
I'm
don't
trying to
agree with me
find.
on it. I know you like it.
I don't. I don't dislike it. That's for sure. I don't know. I don't know if I want to ride one, but of the factory bobbers, I think I like it the most. Um, it's got the most. Uh,
And,
like it's
here I
the.
am telling me I like the 500 Rebel, which is kind of bobberish looking.
It is a little bit, but
Right?
we don't have to
But
agree on everything. I think I really like the like tractor seat kind of look to uh the Bonneville bobber.
maybe that's what I don't like. I don't know. It just. I'm looking at a bunch of detailed photos of it, and
Have you seen the 2018 Speedmaster from Triumph?
no, but I'll look at it real quick.
So it's the same, so it it's the same engine, probably the same frame, um, but not a bobber aesthetic. It's just a straight ahead cruiser.
So I've sat on some of their older versions of this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really okay. I kind of like this bike,
Okay.
but for me, I don't. The foot peg position. That's just a personal thing. I can't have my
Yeah.
feet out in front of me.
The bobber has mid controls, like, which is interesting. Like it doesn't have the forward controls that the Speedmaster does, which I find interesting because the bobber is, it's kind of a cruiser thing too.
Yeah,
I love the look of the headlight on the new Speedmaster. The way that it's like chrome headlight ring with like a black, but then it's got like a little chrome like detail down the side.
see, this bike reminds me very much of a Moto Guzzi California
Yeah,
when the Californias first came out. I know. I'm obviously the engine configuration is different, but the
sure.
bike itself very much reminds me of a California,
Yeah.
especially the black and white California that they did.
Something that
You know,
so I got the opportunity yesterday to see um in Jay LaRosa's shop. They were sitting side by side where an older, like my generation Bonneville without it with the tank and seat and everything removed, and a new one, also completely, devoid of bodywork. It was really cool to see how much is different and how much is the same between the two.
what did you think?
The new one just looks better from every angle. Every time I look at a new Triumph Twin, I like the way it looks better. Like the fake carbs, if you like them, look better than the fake carbs on mine. If you don't like them, you can get a version that doesn't have them. The Street Twin has a single throttle body and doesn't have those fake carbs. It just has like a little guard around the
Oh, I didn't know that.
throttle body.
Yeah. See, that's the
Um,
other thing. It's kind of, unless you're paying really a lot of attention to the models, it's a little confusing.
it is. There are a ton of models. They don't have the fake choke knob anymore, which is great. Uh, I love the detailing on the cases, like the side covers of the engine, the little round like two-tone details that they have.
Right.
I think it just looks better pretty much from head to toe.
I'm certainly seeing more of them on the road. They're becoming very popular, which I
Yeah,
like to see. I like seeing British, European, Italian motorcycles more and more out there than just, your typical Japanese or Harley.
yeah.
But I'm seeing a
So
lot of Triumphs. A lot of new riders ride them too, it seems.
yeah, I think Jess would really like one. When she gets to that point, I think we've talked about it a little bit. I don't know if I've said it on the show. The plan when I'm deployed is for her to just ride the Bonneville every so often so that we don't have to like winterize it or anything, and it kind of forces her to get out on a slightly bigger bike.
I think that's a great idea.
Um, I actually ordered some stock shocks to put on it so that it'll lower the rear end down an inch.
Right. I kind
Um,
of wish we lived closer. I'd go
yeah,
with her on rides.
yeah. So you don't like the Bonneville bobber.
No,
and I think it's
I'm not
okay.
really a fan of it. And it's really, you know, I've said this in the past before. This is making a decision on a bike I've never ridden, that I
Sure.
might change my mind completely riding it. And then there were some bikes that I really wanted to like a lot, and then when I rode them, I was like, eh, you know.
Right. Well, a bike that I don't like that I know you do is the Moto Guzzi MGX 21 Flying Fortress.
I
Um,
do.
yeah, you really like it. I'm less offended today than I was the first time I saw it. But I think that one of the things that stands out the most to me that I don't like is the valve covers on the red valve covers. I hate the way they're shaped. They're just like this
They look
bright
like a they look
light.
like a pan. They look like a pan. It's like a pan head's valve cover. That's what they look like. That's what they remind me of.
I think they look stupid.
Well, I'm sure there's somebody out there making different ones. You know, when you first, I'll admit that when I looked at it in pictures the first time, I had the same reaction you did. Like, what is that? But when I saw it at AIM, I did the same thing. I was like, what is that? You know, and the guy's like, oh, that's the Flying Fortress. And I was like, it is? Because I saw it in pictures and didn't like it. And then when I got up next to it, and it's just, there's carbon fiber all over the thing. It's really a cool bike.
Yeah, I haven't
But
seen it in person.
it's one of those things that you know, I'll completely admit it's a love-hate aesthetic, because the fairing on it certainly looks like it came out of a Batman movie,
Yeah,
you know.
like Batman Forever, the
Yeah,
weirdest of all Batman movies.
but it's got, you know, some neat technology in it. It's not it's when Moto Guzzi came out with it, it was their flagship for technology,
Yeah,
which it's pricey. You know, it's $22,000 for that bike, but man, I like it. You know, and again, I've never really been a cruiser bobber kind of fan, but I like this bike, and I like not bobber. What do they call those? Bagger.
Bagger.
Yeah, but I like the way this bike. When it comes to the baggers, I'm really starting to like this. I like the Honda Goldwing bagger version, and I love the BMW. And when we first saw the BMW at AIM, we saw a concept bike that I didn't like at all, and we were making fun of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but when they came out with the production model,
Sands concept.
yeah, which apparently we offended some woman who loves Rolling Sands, and you know, I think you had to apologize to her, or Spencer did, or because she was going to start crying. I felt really bad for her, but no. The first time I saw that bagger in person was with Ham and Cheese with Scott and Doug. We were on a ride and we stopped at a grand opening of a BMW shop in Palm City, and they had one in there. And, you know, I'm like, wow, what is this? And the guy's like, oh, it's their new bagger.
Yeah.
So I liked it a lot.
The front wheel on the BMW looks small for the bike, but it makes it handle a lot nicer. The front wheel on the Moto Guzzi looks gigantic and looks. I think that's a cool feature about it. It gives it that nice look to it. That's not, you know, it's not that extreme bagger that you see those custom guys make with like the 32-inch front wheel.
Yeah, which I think is completely ridiculous, but
yeah, they're funny though. There's people out there making extremely fucked up versions of every motorcycle. Like the super European street fighters that have the almost vertical rear tail section.
Right.
Yeah. I like a little bit more moderation than that.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, the Moto Guzzi, it's, you either look at it and go, wow, that's really cool. But I would say reserve your judgment. If you're listening to us and you're like a Moto Guzzi fan, or you were looking at baggers, reserve your judgment until you actually go see it in person. And I sat on it. I found it to be a comfortable motorcycle too. So
yeah, the position doesn't look bad. Your feet aren't super far out. I mean,
no.
I don't know. It'd be hard to get your feet out far on a Moto Guzzi because the cylinders and exhaust and all that.
Right. Well, there are guys that do. I mean, I know guys that have highway pegs on Stelvios and stuff.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, here's something really funny, is I was out shopping the other night, and you know how in malls and stuff they'll have like a car on display.
Yeah.
Well, Alfa Romero now has a Stelvio car,
Oh,
which is like their little SUV kind of crossover thing.
yeah,
I was like, oh, cool. Look at that. The Stelvio.
that's funny.
When you
So,
look at like
go ahead.
baggers, just to finish this about the baggers, the Harley Davidson, um, the Road Glide, the new version of the Road Glide, I like a lot too.
I gotta look this up. That's
They're
the one that
big.
has the fixed fairing, right?
Yeah, the Road Glides are fixed fairings. I've always liked the way those fairings look more than the Street Glides. The bike's got pretty interesting lines on it. Again, I've never ridden one,
Oh
and
yeah,
I
I
don't
hate
know if I
that.
would like it. You don't like
Yeah,
that, do
I can't stand the way that bike looks.
you?
Ugh.
You like the Street Glide better with the fairing mounted to the handlebars?
Uh, I don't know about that either. I don't like. I don't
You don't
like.
like Harley's look,
No, not really. I
right?
don't. I like the. I think the Road King looks nice. Which is just plain windshield and then
Right,
saddlebags.
right.
Um, and like the Ultra Classic is okay. Like it doesn't hurt my feelings.
I rode one and I didn't like it only because of the amount of heat generated off the motor, and then it had all this. The Ultra Classic that I rode had these like large kind of fairings in front of your legs, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Like where the engine guards are,
Yeah.
and it was just super hot and uncomfortable. It was
Yeah. I don't think I'd really want to ride one, but the look of them doesn't bother me. It's like the Street Glide fairing, but it's not fixed to the uh, handlebars, the forks. It's attached to the frame, so it's still. I think
right.
doesn't it? Doesn't the Ultra Classics fairing sit still?
Yeah. It's
Right.
no, it's not on the frame. The Ultra Classic,
Yeah. Or does
the
the
Road
fairing
Glide
move?
Ultra is on the frame. The Ultra Classics on the forks.
Oh.
Yeah. Talking about we're on the cruisers right now.
Yeah.
I can tell you one of the dumbest looking bikes is their Tri Glide Ultra. I don't like that at all. It's the only trike being made right now. I think it's butt ugly.
Look up the freewheeler. It looks even dumber. Like if you go to Harley's website and click trike, there's one called the freewheeler.
Okay.
It's bad. I agree the Tri-Glide Ultra looks terrible, but the freewheeler is like a bagger trike, kind of. Ugh,
Yeah, that thing's really ugly.
that's terrible.
Oh my god. That's hideous.
That's the ugliest thing I've seen today. That takes the cake. Worst at number one worst thing. I don't know
Okay,
when
so
they
we're gonna
decided to
vote.
put.
We're gonna both agree to this that this
Yeah,
is by far the worst
Harley
motorcycle to come out.
freewheeler.
The Harley Freewheeler. You know what it looks like? It looks like one of those big wheels you used to ride around as a kid with a
Yeah,
motor stuck in it.
yeah, like like Stewie is always pedaling around in Family Guy.
Yeah. Man, this
Yeah,
thing is stupid looking. I'm
yeah,
sorry. We're probably gonna get an email from Ted
that's okay.
telling us that
I like
we're
emails
horrible
from Ted.
people. So do
Um,
I.
a bike
Ted, you
that I
gotta
don't
admit this
really.
bike is really ugly.
Yeah, yeah, it's bad. A bike that I don't really get, that I don't understand, is the Yamaha SCR 950. It's the scrambler that they made out of the Bolt. Um,
Yeah.
I don't really get how it's a scrambler. Like in my mind, scramblers have high pipes. This doesn't have high pipes. It's got this, 950 cruiser twin motor, and it just I don't understand it. It seems weird.
I don't get it either.
Yeah,
It's like a
I like
mix
the
of two
taillight,
different things. Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure that taillight's on several other Yamahas.
Yeah, I wasn't really when this came out, I wasn't a big fan of it, I guess. It
I don't like the C-spec Bolt either, though. The one that's like supposed to be a cafe racer. Like that looks. dumb too.
Well, it didn't. When Harley came out with that, the cafe, not Harley, Kawasaki. What was that
Oh,
bike that?
the Vulcan S Cafe.
Yeah, like come on, guys.
Yeah, that was
Just
bad.
because you throw a fly screen on something makes it not a cafe bike. You know, it's got foot
Yeah.
forward seating position. It's just goofy looking, and it's. I think the Japanese manufacturers just want to jump on the bandwagon of everything that they think is popular, and they always seem to be a little late to the party.
Yeah, and a little weird. Like
Right.
Honda's VTX 1200X, I think it is, or not VTX, the Interceptor motor that's in an adventure bike.
Right. Right. Right.
I don't know what
Right.
the V something,
Right.
whatever.
V1200 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a 1200 cc, Interceptor motor. But
Just so more stuff I don't like is I went into an Indian dealership to go look at what they had, and other than the octanes, I'm not a big fan of that styling.
you mean the Scout?
The Scout, yeah, the
Octane's
Scout.
a Victory, or was a
Victory version of the Scout, wasn't it, or not really? It was two different
It
motorcycles.
looked really similar. I don't know.
I just don't like the way the fairings are laid out, like the Chieftain at the 2017 Chieftain. And I know people that have ridden them, like Chrissy loves them, says they're great riding motorcycles, but it's not my cup of tea,
Yeah. So I found out. So I was at the when I went to the Beach Moto Classic here in like the LA area. It was the last. It was like the championship of the Super Hooligan series, which is like a racing series started by Roland Sands, where basically you take like a street bike of some kind and run it on a flat track, and they're like a racing series now. Well, the winner got a Indian Scout flat tracker, and
Really?
I heard from someone that it's like a $50,000 motorcycle, but apparently, like in order to race one, you like Indian like requires that you have two. Like it's what I heard. I don't know if this is true, but I heard that you have to have two. So the guy that won one would have to buy a second one if he wants to race it like next year in Super Hooligan instead of racing whatever he was riding, which I don't remember what it was.
Why?
I don't know. Like a backup bike or some crap. I don't know.
But that's a requirement.
It might only be their factory team that has two. I don't know.
Have you seen that their factory race bike?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the bike that the guy won was a like copy of the factory race bike. It was the full on. If you look up FTR 1200,
STR,
F like Foxtrot.
Okay, I got you.
Tango Romeo, like flat track race or flat track racer. It's on their main website. If you just go to Indian Motorcycle, it's one of the like scrolling images that up at the top.
Okay, I see it. Wow.
It's badass looking. Like,
oh, I'd own that in a heartbeat.
The Scout motor in a full like flat track race frame.
That's different. See, the one that I saw at AIM that was in Jason Paul Michaels' booth, Standard Motorcycle Co.
Yeah,
was the prototype of this, which he said they had like $300,000 in.
Yeah,
this is man, this thing's wild. Yeah,
it's really cool looking.
Very cool.
It's crazy to watch Super Hooligan because like I've seen flat track and that's kind of nuts, but Super Hooligan is like full on street bikes that like you could have ridden there that day, and then it's a total like run what you brung class. Like you could show up the day of and like sign up, and as long as you pass tech, like sure, ride it, whatever.
Right.
There's guys on like Harleys, like Dynas. There's one of the guys was on like a Dyna Harley going around the track.
I think didn't you post some pictures of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I really wish I'd gotten Roland almost getting run over by all the motorcycles. Um, he was like somebody's bike stalled out in one of the turns, and he just hopped over a little barrier and went to help the guy push his bike off the track. But it's a tiny track, so that like 2 seconds later, the whole field is coming around again, and
Right.
he's like standing there trying to be as skinny as possible behind this motorcycle so that he doesn't get run over by everybody else on in the race. I'm like,
That's
yeah,
funny.
he's gonna die. That's the guy that started all of this. Everything we see is about to die. That's
Some newbie
all
will
be over.
run. Some newbie will run him over, right?
Yeah. That was the first time they did it, and I heard yesterday that they're going to do another one next year. So I'm like super excited. If it's in the same time frame next year, I'll be home. I should be able to go, and I'll maybe actually be
When
able
do
to
you
attend
think
the
you'll
whole
be back by?
in the summer,
Okay, so you may make the May thing, maybe, possibly. No. Okay.
like midsummer.
All right.
Yeah, I will definitely be gone in May, like July-ish, sometime in July is when we'll be back.
I'm looking to see what else there is in 2017 that came out that I either loved or hated.
Yeah,
I think we talked about something as far as a poor decision, but we're
yeah,
not.
yeah. I
We
mean,
talk about that.
yeah, I don't know. I obviously we can't. I don't have the whole picture, but I don't like that Victory Motorcycles is gone. Um, and like I know that it's been a rough like couple years for the whole motorcycle industry. Like sales have been down, and uh, everybody's been hurting. It sucks to see um one of the companies that was doing some of the most innovative stuff in the cruiser market be gone.
This is what I don't get about it. And like you said, we're not in a position to understand their finances, why a business decision was like that was made. But so they have to continue manufacturing parts for a while, right? Isn't that a requirement that they've got to
Yeah,
be
I
able
think
to?
they have to like support them for 10 years or something.
Okay, so parts are being made. Out of all their lines of motorcycles, there had to have been a bestseller, obviously. Why not keep those one or two and roll them into the Indian line? Rebadge them as Indians and roll them into that line and keep them on the road. That's the part I did not understand, because to me, right now, you walk into an Indian dealership, you get the choice of one type of motorcycle. The
Yeah.
aesthetic of one type of motorcycle. There's not a variation. At least if you would have kept something from the Victory line there, somebody who wants to doesn't want a Harley but wants to buy a cruiser can walk in there and go, this is really kind of modern looking, and it's got all the technology that the other bikes have in it, but it's a modern looking motorcycle that doesn't have that vintage look and feel that the Indians do.
Yeah.
Maybe they were trying to keep the marquees separate, because I know Indians very, very much about how the showroom looks and
Yeah,
the feel.
they're like a hardcore like what's the right word? Like the layout and the like everything is like
The
super.
floor plan is, yeah, you have to have it a certain way, and maybe they didn't want to mix, but
Yeah, I don't know.
okay, then rebadge it as an Indian completely. Take the Victory name out, but take some of those bikes that were more modern looking and roll them into the line.
Yeah.
It was a decision that, like, I don't know maybe that company was just bleeding money and they weren't selling. Maybe they were overextended, but I saw a lot of Victories on the road. People seem to
Yeah.
buy them and like them. There were some cool bikes.
The guy I work with had one or has one. And I remember like when the news came out that Victory was going to be gone, like his motorcycle wasn't even that old. I was like a year or two old. I was like, so how do you feel to be riding a dinosaur?
I mean, the website's still up.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, which
Hmm.
I don't understand. It's there's still stuff on here for Victory.
Weird.
Yeah, unless the bikes are
funny
still
thing
on
about it
here
is when you
too.
get there, like there's a thing that's like, don't miss a beat on all things Victory, and you can sign up for like
Right.
updates. It's like I'm pretty sure all things Victory have ceased.
Well, the only thing I can think of is they're selling all the inventory that they can sell right now to get away, to get rid of everything they have, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how this works. I have no idea.
No, neither do I. I mean, it's just they had some really cool motorcycles. I love the Gunner when they came out with that. I thought that was a really cool bike. I sat on one of those. Jackie Van Ham was riding one around Daytona, and I
Yeah.
thought, man, this thing is cool. I'm going to ask her. I'm going to send her an email and see what she says because she was like a brand ambassador for them.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, she still is. That's the kind of weird thing about it.
I like the Octane. I know you don't really like it. I like the look of it.
I like the way it looked. When I sat on it, I was really cramped on it. Was
Oh.
the reason I didn't like it. It was just really small.
It seems like
for me.
it's like the Scout, but more modern looking. It's definitely got a lot of the Scout kind of DNA in it.
See, I was under the impression it was the same motorcycle, but it's not.
Yeah, they're not quite, but they're similar for sure.
And like I really like the lines on the
Mhm.
Octane of the tank and things like that. I mean, I don't dislike the way the bike looks. It just was really small for me.
Yeah.
I thought it was really kind of cool.
Have you ridden a Scout or sat on a Scout?
No, I want to. I sat on one. They're hard to tell the difference on which one is which.
Like
When I
which
went in the
Scout is
dealership,
which?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They have a bobber
was-
that looks exactly like the regular Scout to me.
Yeah, and there's different engine sizes, correct?
There's two.
Yeah.
So there's the Scout 60 and then the Scout, which is the bigger engine. But it's like a very small difference. It seems weird to me. It's not like the difference between the 883 and the 1200 Sportsters. It's like it's like a much closer.
I couldn't tell them apart at all. Another bike
So-
they made I really liked a lot was the Hammer S. That's a really cool motorcycle, and it's mid controls. It's not forward controls.
Yeah.
Well, they are kind of forward, really. I thought maybe the one I saw had a kit on it, a relocation kit, but I thought that was a kind of cool bike.
So the difference between the Scout 60 and the regular Scout is less than 150 cc's.
And it's the same chassis and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
the bike's
What the-
similar.
why?
The difference is you can't get like one of them has a flat matte finish, the other one doesn't. You can't mix and match. And this brings me to something we wanted to talk about too. Was when we were looking at the bikes earlier that had the different colored fenders and everything.
Yeah.
The manufacturers, in my opinion, should offer these things as cross the board options when it's the same model motorcycle, like the Ducati Scrambler, right? So instead of being locked into buying one particular look and then having to go and change stuff out.
Yeah, like having to go back and buy a new fender or a new seat or.
Right. So if you wanted to buy the Ducati Scrambler with a high fender from one bike in the front and the different fender from another one, why can't you just order it like that or have that stuff in stock? So that's the bike I want, but I want that fender on it with that headlight. And they go back there and 20 minutes later, they come out with the bike. I mean, how hard is that? To me, it seems like it would make it. So a lot of these small bikes that are coming out, that would make them much more attractive for people. Same with the Scout we were just talking about. Why can't I have the bigger motor in the flat black version of it? Well, no, you can only get that in the, that's just, I think you'd sell more motorcycles by doing that. Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, like we talked the other day, BMW does that a little bit. They've got sort of like the car dealership version of like build your motorcycle on their website. I don't know how that translates to the dealership, but at the same time, like most of the time, when you go buy a car, you're limited to what they have in stock at that particular dealership unless you go somewhere else or special order.
And it's also that ordering type thing is from you can't get it on the showroom floor, right?
Yeah.
If you walked into BMW and say, I want this GS low with this, and this, you're not going to be able to walk out of there that day. That's an ordering process, where some of these aesthetic things like a fender or, a fly screen, a seat, especially when they did the Bolt, because remember when we first saw the Bolt at AIM and they did that builders build off, they had all those different versions of the Bolt, and they kind of had like a menu there of all the accessories you could get for the Bolt. It would make sense to have that stuff in stock. It's one thing if you want to, because the idea I like about that is you can finance it at that time too. That's the wonderful thing about having, like on an adventure bike, having stuff at the dealership, like bags and things like that, that it can all be rolled into the package of the bike and you can finance it. But for instance, on a Bolt, let's say that there was a performance exhaust system that they had there. Typically, you're ending up buying that bike, taking off your exhaust system, buying the performance exhaust system, and now you're stuck with the stock exhaust system.
Yeah.
Why not give a small credit on that exhaust system? I'm not saying the actual cost of it, but a small credit so the consumer doesn't have to deal with it and put something on from off the shelf.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies, I know Triumph seems to be, at least from my outside perspective, seems to be moving more towards that kind of direction where like you have to, like as a dealer, you have to have a certain amount of accessories in stock in the showroom. Like one of the local Triumph dealers here used to be called Rocket Motorcycles. It's now called Triumph San Diego, and they, obviously they're predominantly a Triumph dealer now. They also sell Zero, and they have like a handful of leftover Royal Enfields from I don't know how long ago, like when they used to be an Enfield dealer. But they have a lot more like like Triumph factory accessories, like seats and stuff like that, like hanging on their wall in like this big display now that they didn't used to have. Like it's this very obvious, like, hey, and even the other day when I went in there to buy a little piece that I needed for my bike, me and the guy were talking, and Jess was there, and we were talking about a bike for her, when she's ready to move up or whatever, and he was like, hey, if you like the new Bonneville, but you want like the more classic version, you want the T100 instead. If you wanted that bike instead of the Street Twin, because the Street Twin has the lowest seat, they're like the seat swaps right over, and then he's like, and he walks over to this wall of, Triumph factory seats. Like you can get this seat or this seat or this seat. They're all lower than the stock one. Blah blah blah. Like goes on for a bit. Like it seemed like a very homogenized, sort of like planned out thing.
But in other words, they would give him the bike with that seat, but not charge him extra for the seat, or
I don't know. I'm not sure. I know that like when I bought my Bonneville, like I got it with saddlebags and a couple other things, like accessories that I just financed right in. I think that part of that, like since they have them there, they can roll them right into your financing. I'm sure that you'd be paying for the aftermarket seat. I mean, maybe if you were switching with a stock seat from another bike, they might be willing to work with you. I don't know. I think a lot of that's probably down to the dealer.
Yeah, not to make a comparison between bicycles, but when I retired from the first fire department job, I had a road bike built for myself, and it was a bike that you could go and buy off the floor. It was from a Belgian company called Ridley, but the place that built it had kind of like a list of options. So I a la carted the entire bike, which I thought was kind of cool. They had everything in stock. And one of the things they did with the seat, which I thought was really neat, was they have like wall O seats, like 100 seats on a wall. Right. And the guy made a recommendation for a couple, and I tried them, and he's like, go ride it, try this seat. If you like it, bring it back and we'll give you a new one, which was kind of neat. So I didn't have to invest money in the seat. It was just a way that, I could get a feel for it and then come back. And I said, yeah, I really like this one. And he's like, okay, let me have my demo back, and here's your brand new one. Yeah. And he had always, then just added the cost of that seat on. You could do that easily, I think, with motorcycles. And obviously a custom builder is going to do that. They're just not going to have a variety of them to try out. But a manufacturer, it would be easy for, like, let's say Ducati, and for this, I keep going back to the Scrambler because it's kind of this modular motorcycle to me. but they have, let's say they had 3 seats, you know, a solo, a double pillion, and a single, and anyone would fit, and here's our demo version of it. Go ride it for a day. Let me know what you think. Come back, and you're only charged the price of whatever seat you buy. It would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know, just motorcycles like that, like the Bolt, maybe this Rebel, the Ducati Scrambler, maybe even the BMW, just seem like Lego modular, build it up the way you want it kind of thing. Whereas,
yeah, especially when they have so many versions that are using the same frame, and so many parts are cross compatible between them.
right. Like if maybe buying that yellow bike, I don't want the flat gray fender. I want the shiny black fender with the yellow tank. Why can't I have that?
Right.
You know, okay. Well, we'll sell you one from the parts department, and you can come in 2 weeks and pick it up, and now you have 2 fenders. That's the part about it I don't get. Anyway, anything else you don't like for 2017? The anniversary V7 Moto Guzzi I thought was kind of cool. That had the chrome tank on it.
Yeah, I there's nothing standing out that I can think of that I didn't like, or that I really liked that I haven't mentioned.
And the one I really liked that I haven't mentioned was the 1290 Super Adventure R.
Yeah, that was a cool bike.
It's got the big front wheel. It's TFT screen. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, that screen is amazing. I've seen, that TFT screen, and then the Street Triples TFT, and it's like, it's amazing. I don't know. It feels like, why doesn't everybody do this? Like, why is?
Do you remember the first TFT screen I ever saw was on the EBR?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the SX.
And I was amazed by that. It was really cool. And then I kind of like inquired about changing mine out, but it's a completely different front end on the bike. You just can't swap out the instrument cluster. It's not an easy change. But honestly, the R bike, as much as I like it, I wouldn't get the amount of off-road use out of it to justify that motorcycle. For me, I think a mid to displacement dual sport would serve me much, much better. I'm very happy with my Super Adventure, the way it's configured and the way I got it built. But I think
I need to find a cheap mid displacement dual sport to just get comfortable. Like I'm like completely new to off-road riding. I took like one class once, and had a ton of fun, but that was it. Like, I've never done anything else other than like ride on gravel or hard packed dirt roads.
It's fun when you've got the confidence, once you get out there and start riding more, and it's one of those things, like, it's a diminishing skill. So if you're not doing it all the time, I think you lose it. That's why I'd like to have one. I'd ride it a lot more often. The other issue is there's really nowhere to ride here in South Florida. I'd have to go to Central in North Florida, whereas like where Spencer lives, and even you go out your back door for a little while and it's right there.
Yeah, we're both within, I don't know, 30 minutes of, some place to ride.
The funny thing is, when you Google like middleweight dual sport motorcycles, you get like Tiger 800s and stuff like that. BMW 800s.
Big.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I had a Tiger 800 and I didn't really like it. I want a dual sport somewhere between 350 and 650 is what I want.
That's more dirt bike than street bike.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe that Suzuki's something I should look at, the DRZ.
Yeah. I don't know what the laws are in Florida. I know in Washington, it was really easy to register a dirt bike that did not, come with turn signals and stuff. Like, it was really easy to add those things and go get it registered as a street legal motorcycle.
From the story I've heard here in Florida, and not ever actually trying this, what they tell me is, as long as the title doesn't say for off-road use only, they'll register it. And there's a lot. When I did a couple of the rallies, the Polar Bear, which I think I'm going to do again next year, there were a ton of dirt bikes with light kits on them that had tags on them. And the guy said they were easy. And I've heard two different stories about KTM. Somebody said that when they bought one of their dirt bikes, it didn't say for off-road use only on the title and or registration, and somebody else said it did. So I don't, without knowing firsthand, I can't tell you. You know, I mean, I have a couple friends that have Honda dirt bikes that are tagged and they have light kits on them.
Yeah.
That are 2-strokes even, you know.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, the other thing with Florida is it also depends on what tag agency you go to, because I've also heard of stories from people that bought bikes out of Malaysia. Like there's this dealership in Malaysia where you can buy these 2-stroke former road racing bikes, you know, that are tagged. These guys are bringing them over to the gas station on Sunday. Some of them don't even have headlights on them. And they've got a tag on them. And one guy told me he went to the tag agency, like in some podunk area, and said, yeah, I used to race this bike in Europe, or I owned it in Europe, and it's got a lot of sentimental value. And, you know, they registered it for him.
Huh. So, that sounds kind of like so growing up in Virginia, we had like state vehicle inspections. You had to like bring your car in or your motorcycle, and you verified that like the brake lights and the turn signals and the horn and, you know, all this sort of like general safety equipment like worked. And there are really specific rules about turn signals on motorcycles and taillights and stuff like that in Virginia. Like your turn signals had to be at least 9 inches apart. They had to be, you know, have a little DOT, you know, number, and like, you know, DOT and a little number like etched into the lens, all that sort of stuff. So like people would have, you know, those integrated turn signal taillight setups on their motorcycles, and you know, they'd get pulled over and get tickets. And then it started to be where like the state patrol would look at the ticket, like look at your inspection sticker and see where your bike was inspected. And if it was a motorcycle dealership, they'd start like not harassing, but like going after the motorcycle dealerships that were
really,
yeah, you know, and trying to like basically enforce. Virginia is a bit of a police state, but yeah, so all of my friends that like were motorcycle dealer, you know, people were like, yeah, dude, just go to like a random gas station that does car state inspections, because every car state inspection place is able to do state inspection on a motorcycle, but they don't have a fucking clue what they're looking for really, because they don't ever do them. So you just show up at this car, you know, like a auto garage, and say, hey, I need a state inspection. And when I did that on my bike, the guy was like, okay, hey, so hit your horn for me. Okay, hit your turn signals, left, right, front brake, rear brake, you know, turn your high beam on.
Right.
Cool. All right.
Right.
You know, I did everything by myself. You know, it wasn't even like every motorcycle dealership you'd go to, you'd give them the motorcycle and then you'd like come back in an hour.
It's Florida used to have vehicle inspection that ran just like that. I remember as a kid going with my mom and having to wait in this god awful line for hours. And they did, you know, first it was just safety equipment, like we said, headlights, and then they started doing emissions. Yeah. You know, where they'd stick this thing in the tailpipe, and then if you didn't pass that, they would they'd send you off to go get it fixed. You know, and you had to come back by a certain amount of time.
They do emissions testing here, and then like in a couple counties in Washington they do it, but it's like by county up there. Down in California, it's everywhere.
Yeah, Florida gave up on that, and now there's nothing but a bunch of junk driving around on the roads in Florida. I mean,
yeah, I had forgotten just how shitty you could have a car on the road in some parts of the country when I drove across the country last year.
Right.
Like, I got out to Florida and there were like multi-vehicle trains of just like one vehicle hitched to another. Just like everything was a clapped out shit box. And they're just like towing this thing down the road. I was like, what in the hell? Where am I?
Yeah, it's nothing but a bunch of junk. It's unbelievable. It's so much crap that's riding around the road. And the cops were, see, the whole idea behind that was they were going to leave the enforcement up to the police officer. So if they saw something with, you know, a missing headlight, missing taillight, they still do that, you know, but not to the level where there's like the car's missing a bumper. I see that stuff all the time. That's safety equipment, you know, or broken glass, driving around with missing windows and broken glass. There's so much junk. It's not even funny. So, we were talking about dual sports, and I know we're short on time, but we're talking about dual
Yeah.
sports, and I tried to Google like best middleweight dual sport, and there's
Mhm.
not. It's like there's this big gap in the midsection. Now they did say, they're showing a KTM 500 EXCF. I don't think they make that bike anymore,
Yeah.
and it's like 10 grand, and then the Husky FE 450, which is
Mhm.
like 11 grand.
Yeah.
They're really expensive, but these are tagged, headlights. There's no mirrors on the Husky. There is on the KTM, but and even that might be a little bit big. I'm thinking between 300 and 450 cc's, maybe a 500. That's something I'd like to have.
Yeah, for sure.
It's got
The
decent manners.
DRC 400s out here anyway are like hard to find for a reasonable price. Like they've been making the bike forever. They haven't changed it much, but like you'll see like a 2008 somebody wants like almost MSRP for it. And it's like, dude, the bike is like 9 years old or yeah.
Yeah, see, I don't get, like, why doesn't Yamaha and Honda make versions of their, like, the Yamaha XT250? Why don't they make an XT450?
I don't know.
And
You
then,
could,
like,
I mean, get a WR450 and then put plates on it.
that's not a bad idea, actually. That's not a bad idea at all, because you could probably get away with it. Put a kit on it.
Yeah. I mean, because it should already
Yeah.
have a brake light, tail light, and a headlight, so you just need turn signals.
Yeah, and the XTs are running $5,100, $5,200. Let me see what the WR is. Probably around a little bit more, you think?
Probably.
Let's see. Dirt. It's in the cross country version, right? I believe.
Yeah.
WR 450F.
9 grand.
10 grand. 9 grand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, that's a lot.
Yeah. To quote Jeremy Clarkson on the Grand Tour, on that terrible disappointment.
I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, get out and ride.
See ya.
Actually, before we go, I guess we should probably tell people where the hell to find us.
Such a disappointing end of the show because I can't find the motorcycle I want. Just goodbye. I'll see you guys later.
End it all.
Yeah.
So if you like our, incredibly morose musings, you can find us at caferacerpodcast.com or search just about any social media outlet for Cafe Racer Podcast. We'd like to thank all of the patrons who have supported us on patreon.com/Cafe Racer Podcast for the past
That's
year.
our crew.
It's been super fun. We've grown a bunch there. It's been a hell of a year. Like, and really those people over at Patreon are the ones that have like made a lot of this possible. Me going out to AIM this past year was almost entirely it was basically possible because I was able to supplement the cost by using the money that we've earned on Patreon. And
hey, look, for the cost $1 a month, $12 a year.
Yeah, it really makes
helps
a big
us
difference.
out. Yeah, it does. We've got to pay for. The show's not self-funded. Crash and I take money out of our pocket to pay for a lot, but the guys on Patreon, you people that are supporting us, it means a world to us because it helps us a lot.
Yeah.
And if you want to join up on Patreon, there's a lot of perks you get that we're even going to be doing some more special things like giveaways for Patreon only.
Yeah. So we've added, we talk about Slack pretty often. It's a great place for everybody to chat and hang out. And we've got different channels in there if you want to talk about different topics. So anybody that supports us on Patreon gets access to that. Anybody that supports us on Patreon also gets access. So we're doing a monthly like Patreon hangout where everybody jumps in and can, chat, talk about whatever, like in like face to face, just like we are here for the podcast. We just did one last weekend. It was a ton of fun. Everybody it was a really lively conversation. It was like I said, it was a great experience, and we're doing that monthly. Like Steve said, we're going to have some Patreon only giveaways. The like double entries for any time we do another giveaway. We still have stuff to give away. Like we've been slowly making our way through products that we've gotten over the past few months, and there's a few more things left to go out. And then if you support us at the $5 level, we've got like sticker packs that I'm constantly getting stickers from new people. I'm actually probably going to send out like an updated sticker pack to everybody that's been supporting us already, with some of the new stuff I've gotten. And if we hit a certain level, we're about halfway to the tier that, so there's like a goal where if we start getting a certain amount of money every month, we're actually going to send everybody in Patreon a t-shirt. So
we keep saying that, but we need you people to join. Get up there and help us out.
Yeah, we're about halfway there. If we make it to the $100 a month level, where I'm gonna design t-shirts and send them out to everybody that supports us. So,
all right. That being said,
now for real, get out and ride.
See ya.